Welcome to the Eagle Valley Model Railroad. In this video we're going to be working on the new yard. We've already put the turnout to access the new yard, the three-way switch, and our 3 spurs. Going to get rid of some of the shiny pieces of the track, and I've basically came up with a mix of acrylic paints that look the color that I want it. And we're just going to very easily paint right here against the rails. Going to paint just enough to catch the rails and then some of the clips that hold the rail into place. Try not to get too much paint on the top of the rail. If you do, it's not a big deal. We're going to clean all that up later. But we're trying to keep it tight up against the rail just so it doesn't look like the wooden ties are rusted. We'll weather those and add some more scenery accents to it later on to give it a weathered look. But just right here we're focusing on the rails. Actually painting the tops of my magnets right there, just so it doesn't shine through when you put the ballast down. It'd probably be a little better to do a gray color to match the ballast, but knocking the shine off is basically what we were trying to do. So you put a camera down and you can definitely tell a difference between a painted rail and a non-painted rail. It really gets rid of the shine off the side of it. Here we're going to focus on cleaning the track. We've painted all of it, and you can see that we've got some spots where paint touched the top. It's shiny in places and very, very dull. This is a piece of wood wrapped with a piece of corduroy and, of course, a bright boy. I know some of you guys despise the bright boys. I use it in such a way where it's not bad on the track. And this is what I use to clean the track as well. So what we're going to start off with is getting our bright boy, and I'm barely putting pressure on the track here. I mean, it's just enough to take the paint and some of the dirt and grime off the rails. I'm not digging into the rails with this bright boy. It takes a little longer to do that, but I agree, the bright boy really scratches up the finish of the rail. But I believe if you use it gently, it'll achieve what you want it to achieve, and it's a great tool for this job. So we're just making sure, and you can tell a difference in the sound when you're dealing with something on the track and when it's a good smooth surface. And once you get to that sound, you quit putting hardly any pressure on it. Taking our corduroy block here, spraying our electrical contact cleaner on it. Pretty well clean. Do one little swipe, and this is what you get out of that. Really get in there and clean it up real good. And you can tell from this angle a difference, but you can really tell from this angle that we've got the track rail nice, clean, and it'll make great electrical contact to the engine. And that's basically how I clean my tracks. Of course, we hadn't done the switch yet. Track feeders with my switches. I do paint the side rails all the way around my switches, so the connectivity through the switch is lacking some. So I do like to add feeders on every part of my switches. Catching the outside rail on the main runs, and then catching the outside rails on my switch runs. Really making sure with the rest of the layout that you've got your feeders in the proper place. You don't want to swap the polarity on your switch and it be different than the rest of your track, or it will foul it out and it will not run. Excuse the blurriness. Didn't realize it was this blurry, but This is me showing you what I do with my feeders. We're going to clean the area of the track that's been painted. I mean, you could do this before you paint the track. Either way, it really doesn't matter. I put just a little bend on the end of it. You can kind of tell that. And it's just enough to where it'll force itself back into the undercut of the rail. And it sets pretty well. Got both of my feeders in. Just getting enough heat on this to melt some solder into the joint. Really take your time here and try to stay off your ties, because it doesn't take but just a simple bump and that soldering iron will distort your ties relatively quick. I pre-solder my wires, the tips of them. That way it's already got some solder ready to go, and this solder is just adding enough to it to get a good contact to the inside of the rail. Got my feeders under the layout. Got my main bus running across here. Going to strip the edges of my feeders. I've already got a section of the main bus stripped back. If I was in a section where I didn't have some main bus stripped back, I would just strip some of the casing back or the insulation of the wire back and do this exact same process. So try my best to get it to where it doesn't just tangle up and rat nest with the rest of the wires. I get it in a good position, and then I just wrap the exposed wire at that spot of the main bus. Take a pair of pliers and cinch it down so it makes a good contact right there. Got a little overzealous with it right there, but we can get it fixed, ain't no biggie. It looks a little aggressive and sped up like this. Really being easy with it. You don't want to break it off, because you do that, you got to strip some more. And then you're working with a smaller feeder lead, and it gets a little tough sometimes under the layout. Put a little flux in, put a little heat to it, and then solder it in, and it'll suck that solder up into those wraps, and it makes a great contact. I've not had any issues doing it this way. Getting the other piece of it that was already there hot, and then get it all melted in together. It does real well. And that's basically what it looks like. Doesn't look like the greatest thing, but if somebody's crawling under your layout, they get to see whatever they get to see. Gonna do a little ballast. Listening to some of you guys, I distinctly remember Sparky using some black in his ballast. I wanted to give that a go. The rest of the layout is a gray blend. This is about a 2-to-1 mix of the gray blend and just straight black ballast. I wanted to see what it looked like, and this is how we ballast the tracks over at the Eagle Valley. Be liberal with your ballast here. Just get it everywhere you want it. And then let your brush do the rest. Takes a little bit of time, but if you stay steady with it and can be constant with your strokes and be consistent with everything, you can actually get a really good look out of this right here. Just brushing everywhere I want to be able to see the ties, digging in a little deep between the tracks, making sure you got a little bit of definition. I didn't want it flat all the way across. If you want it flat all the way across, I would suggest with your cork not cutting it and laying it as it comes out of the box, and then you'll have your flat cork surface. But I do like a little bit of an indentation between my tracks. And just continue to work it. I mean, it just takes a little time, like I say. And if you get to a place to where you feel like you've got a little much, just brush it completely out of the way. We can grab it with the vacuum cleaner and a sock without too much issue. Brushing, tapping, I mean, it's just, this seems, for me, this is the way I like to do it. Kind of do some tapping, causing some vibration. That helps get some of the loose ballast off the top of the rails. Use your finger as a scraper. It does the same thing. You're not going to get 100% off right off the bat. So this takes a little bit of effort and time as well. And if you don't get all of it off, or when you start spraying it down and it pushes some of the ballast on top of the rail, on top of the ties, excuse me, it's not a big deal. I've got a little piece of wood that I use to get that off. And that's what ballasted track looks like at the Eagle Valley. And I really do like the extra black in there, about a 2-to-1 ratio on the mixed gray and the black. Figured I'd bring in some engine and let y'all see it run a little bit. This new area is going to add a lot of switching scenarios for us at the Eagle Valley. It's a weird looking switchman that poked his head out there. It's a little unique with my divider up, making sure I didn't run my engine off the edge. I don't have any stops at the end of my tracks. So I was looking over the top of the divider to make sure where I turned the engine around here or reversed it. I've got to get me another controller port to put on the outside of the layout here. That way I can operate what would be to our right from this shot. And then switch it to come through the middle. That's that strange looking fella again. Running pretty good. Running pretty good. I like it. So the engine alone runs pretty good. Let's see what some rolling stock looks like coming down through here. The pipe load shifted, looks like. Ooh, I really need to dust that engine. Hadn't run this stuff in a while, guys. It's the first time in a good while we run some engines. So once we get our ballast in place, we've got our water, alcohol, and dish detergent mix. Spray it down and get a good soaking. That way that mixture will get down into the ballast real well. If you just have the surface wet, that's the only place your glue's gonna go. This is I say a half and half mix. It's a little bit more water than it is glue. There is a little bit of alcohol in this as well, not very much. And there's just a few drops of dish detergent in this also. I probably put a little much down, but I'd rather have a little much than not enough. I've never had any issues with it once it dries, being able to see it. It dries just as clear as it can dry. And everywhere you want ballast to stick, put your glue. Going over rails and everything, the biggest concern here is make sure you stay off of your mechanism for your switches. If you put glue on your mechanism, it will glue it in the position it's in, and it's a little bit of a headache to get it back normal. Thanks for watching. Remember, like, share, subscribe, and until next time, happy modeling.